Let me tell you a hard truth about life, and it might just set you free. Have you ever looked back and realized that the people you loved most never really loved you back? Have you ever felt the silence of a room that used to be filled with voices when you were needed? Have you ever wondered what happens to all those smiling faces when you finally slow down, when the only thing left to give is yourself? Let me tell you something real, something raw. Life has a way of stripping off the masks people wear. And there's no stronger light of truth than the one that comes with old age. When you're young, full of energy, constantly running for others, they adore you. You are celebrated, you're praised, they shower you with love, or so it seems. But the moment your pace changes, the moment your back starts to ache and your hands no longer have the same strength, that's when the illusion breaks. That's when you start to see what's real. Suddenly, you're not the one people call every day. You're not the one they check on. You become a memory in their phone book, a favor from the past, a convenience that's no longer needed. That's when the truth pierces deeper than any wound. They were never really here for you. They were here for what you could do. There comes a sacred turning point in your life, a point where you must stop tolerating the presence of ungrateful people, no matter who they are, no matter what name they carry, no matter what blood you share. Because ungratefulness isn't just a flaw, it's a disease of the soul. No matter how much you give, it's never enough. You give your best years, your sleepless nights, your tears, your forgiveness, and they still walk into your life like they own it. They speak with impatience. They act like your presence is a burden, and in their eyes, your sacrifices disappear like mist. But I'm here to remind you, this is not love. Love doesn't forget. Love doesn't take without thanks. Love doesn't look the other way when you're hurting. Love shows up. Love honors. Love remembers. And yet some of you have built your lives around people who have no intention of ever giving back. You placed their dreams above your own. You said yes when your soul was begging you to rest. You forgave when every part of you knew they didn't deserve it. You held their hands in their worst moments. And now? Now that you're the one who needs a hand, they vanish. You call, they don't answer. You ask for help, they sigh. You try to explain your heart, they make you feel dramatic or needy. And suddenly you're left wondering, was any of it ever real? Let me say this with love but without apology. Your worth is not tied to their appreciation. Your value does not shrink just because they have amnesia about the roads you walked for them. Some people, especially the ungrateful, rewrite history. They edit the script to make themselves the victims. They forget the nights you stayed awake to soothe their fears. They forget the extra shifts you worked just to buy them shoes. They forget the times you said, "I'm fine," when you were breaking inside. And if you're not careful, if you keep living for their approval, you'll spend your final years trying to win a love that was never real. You'll chase the validation of people who've already decided you're only valuable when useful. And here's the thing about entitled people, they don't just forget. They drain. They don't just take, they demand. They will twist your kindness into guilt. They will use your love like a leash. And when you finally say no, they'll accuse you of being selfish. But hear me, you don't owe anyone your peace. You don't have to justify your boundaries. If someone can't respect your presence, then let your absence speak. You've been begging for recognition from people who never even saw you. You've been grieving over relationships God tried to remove long ago. You've been praying for love from people who only return when they're hungry, when they're broke, when they're in need. But when you're the one crying, there's nothing but silence. This is your wake-up call. You are not here to carry everyone else's brokenness while your own heart withers. You are not responsible for healing those who keep wounding you. You don't have to be the rock for people who would never shelter you from the rain. Stop mourning what left. Stop crying over hands that let go of yours. Because this season, it's sacred. This chapter of your life demands peace. And peace is not something you find by accident. It's something you fight for. It's something you protect like treasure. You don't have the energy to carry people who treat you like an option. You don't have time to chase people who are comfortable ignoring you. Love should never be begged for. Respect should never be squeezed from someone's reluctant heart. And family, it's not just DNA. Family is loyalty. Family is presence. Family is the one who remembers to ask how your day was when there's nothing to gain. And here's the miracle that happens when you finally let go of the ungrateful and the entitled. You breathe again. You smile again. You sit in the sunlight and feel alive, not drained. You realize that peace is more valuable than being liked. That solitude is better than fake connection. That joy isn't in proximity, it's in authenticity. We often believe we can't live without certain people, but the truth is, we couldn't live freely because of them. Their presence was a weight, a shadow, a distraction from the joy that was always waiting for us. It's time to choose light. It's time to let go. Let go of the ones who call only when they need. Let go of the ones who make you feel invisible in the room you built for them. Let go of those who make you feel like you're never enough, no matter how much you give. You have given enough. You have forgiven enough. You have bent enough. Now it's your time to stand. To surround yourself with those who love you, not for your labor, not for your loyalty, but simply because you're you. And just when you think that was the only battle, there's another danger lurking in this stage of life. It's more subtle, more contagious, and far more destructive. Let's talk about negativity and the weight of carrying what was never yours to begin with, in part 2. And if you thought letting go was hard, wait until you face this silent thief. You've just started reclaiming your peace, cutting off the ungrateful, the entitled, and those who only saw your love as a transaction. But there's another enemy, more subtle than selfishness, more contagious than betrayal, negativity. You might not notice it at first. It comes in quietly, through a phone call, a visit, a conversation. You're having a good day. Your heart is light. Maybe you've even smiled for the first time in weeks. But one word from a bitter soul, one toxic sentence whispered in passing, and just like that, your peace begins to leak. Negativity spreads like smoke in a room. You can't always see it right away, but you'll feel its heaviness in your chest. You could be sitting in gratitude, enjoying a cup of coffee, watching the sunrise, and then someone calls, not to check on you, not to share joy, but to rehearse pain, to stir up old wounds, to remind you of every injustice, every betrayal, every wrong turn you've ever taken. And if you're not careful, you'll find yourself carrying bags that were never yours to begin with. You'll carry their complaints, their bitterness, their anger, and it will sit in your spirit like a weight you didn't even realize you picked up. Here's the truth. Some people do not want to heal. Their identity is so deeply rooted in their pain, they wouldn't know who they are without it. They've held on to bitterness like it's a friend. Anger has become their comfort blanket. Victimhood is their shield from growth. So when they see you choosing peace, choosing to move forward, they feel threatened. Not because you did anything wrong, but because your healing exposes their refusal to change. And what do people do when they feel exposed? They try to pull you back into the storm they live in. That's why you must be so careful who you let speak into your life. Not everyone who offers advice is planting wisdom. Some are planting poison. Some don't come to build you, they come to bind you. They won't tell you how to fix the roof, they'll just complain about the rain. They won't help you clean the mess, they'll just sit in it and invite you to drown with them. And here's the danger. If you let that mindset linger, it will make you see enemies where there are none. It will make you question those who truly care. It will keep you awake at night, replaying conversations you should have let go, grieving over things that should have been healed long ago. Negativity is not just emotional clutter, it is spiritual pollution. It fogs your mind, it infects your joy. It turns small problems into lifelong offenses. It makes forgiveness feel impossible. And over time, it doesn't just steal your peace, it steals your identity. You'll forget who you were before the bitterness. You'll forget the light you carried. You'll wake up carrying other people's burdens, other people's grudges, other people's rage, and wonder why you feel so tired all the time. And let's be honest, some of you have tolerated this energy for far too long. You have friends or even family who only show up to gossip, to relive pain, to talk about everything that's wrong and never anything that's right. And because you're kind, because you're loyal, you've listened, you've nodded, you've stayed on the line far too long. But slowly all that darkness crept into your spirit and you didn't even realize how heavy you'd become. But it's not your weight to carry. You were not created to live in cycles of resentment. You were not designed to be a dumping ground for someone else's emotional baggage. You do not have to attend every fight you're invited to. You don't have to respond to every insult thrown your way. You don't have to explain yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. This is your time to draw the line, to say no more. Protect your peace, guard your joy, and surround yourself with people who breathe life into your soul, not those who drain it. Be intentional about who gets access to your heart. Choose conversations that uplift you. Be with those who remind you of beauty, of hope, of faith, even when things are hard. Life is too short to waste on bitterness disguised as conversation. You don't need noise, you need nourishment. You don't need arguments, you need alignment. You don't need more opinions, you need peace. This is your moment to live light again, to wake up free, to walk into each day with a heart that's not burdened by someone else's darkness. Don't let their storm become your identity, because there's a kind of person you still need to be cautious of, the ones who don't come in shouting, but smiling. They may not spread bitterness directly, but they have another weapon just as harmful: manipulation. Let's talk about that next. You've protected your peace. Now it's time to guard your soul. In the last chapter, we talked about how dangerous negativity can be, how it lingers in your life, often through the voices of others, weighing down your spirit with burdens that were never yours to carry. But what happens when those voices come disguised as friends, family, or even loved ones? When the ones who speak most softly are the ones who manipulate most deeply? Let's go deeper. Some people are still angry about things that happened years ago. They're still holding on to resentment, blaming others for the life they chose to stay stuck in. These are the ones who don't want healing. They want pity. They don't want growth. They want a reason to stay the same. And if you're not careful, their energy will wrap itself around you like vines, slowly choking the light out of your life. If you don't set boundaries, you'll find yourself becoming just like them, bitter, stuck, resentful, and confused as to why your soul feels so tired. At this point in life, you have to decide: is your peace more important than their approval? Is your joy worth more than their opinion? You must walk away from conversations that serve no purpose but to stir up old pain and division. You must guard your mind like a fortress, because negativity isn't just toxic, it's invasive. It creeps into your thoughts, infects your spirit, and distorts the way you see the world. Anger that leads nowhere, conflicts that go in circles, bitterness that only hurts you, never them. These are weights you no longer have time to carry. Some of you have allowed people in your life who only call when they want to gossip. They don't come to pour into you, to encourage you, or to sit with your silence. They come only to replay pain, to rehearse the past, and over time that energy becomes a burden you didn't even realize was affecting you. Their stories, their grudges, their problems, they sit on your chest like invisible weights, and you wonder why you feel heavy, drained, always tired. It's not just physical, it's spiritual exhaustion. Let them go. Let go of the bitterness. Let go of the resentment. Let go of the need to fix, respond, defend. You do not have to join every argument. You do not owe anyone your silence or your explanations. You are not responsible for how others choose to live in pain. Protect your joy. Surround yourself with people who speak faith, hope, and love into your life, not just frustration, anger, and fear. You deserve to live free. You deserve to wake up light, not burdened. You deserve to smile again, to laugh without guilt, to enjoy moments without constantly being dragged into someone else's chaos. Because peace, true peace, is rare, and you cannot allow anyone to steal it from you. Now, there's another kind of person to beware of. The kind who doesn't come shouting. They come smiling. They know how to sound kind. They know the right words to say. But their intentions? Far from pure. These are the manipulators, the takers. The ones who see you not as someone to love, but as someone to use. They may look like friends. They may be family. In fact, they're often the ones you've helped the most. And yet they'll drain you without hesitation. Manipulation isn't always loud. It's often subtle, whispered in guilt trips and disguised as flattery. The best manipulators won't demand outright. They'll make you question whether your boundaries are selfish. They'll bring up everything you've done for them. But not because they're grateful. It's because they want more. Tears, silence, anger, guilt. They know every tactic. They make you feel responsible for their happiness, their pain, their decisions. But hear me clearly. You are not responsible for carrying someone else's selfishness on your back. Some of you have spent years being drained by people who only call when they need something. They never check in to ask how you're doing. They never share a moment of joy just to connect. The only time you hear from them is when there's a crisis, a bill, a mess. And because you have a good heart, you've always shown up. But ask yourself this: who shows up for you? Who calls you just to say, "I love you"? Who checks in not because they need a favor, but because they care? If you can't think of many, maybe it's time to ask yourself if you've surrounded yourself with givers or just takers. Manipulative people don't care about your well-being. They care about what they can get. And the moment you stop giving, their mask falls. They vanish, they distance, or worse, they retaliate with guilt. But that revelation, it's not a loss, it's a gift. Because now, you're free. This is the season where you stop pouring into empty wells. Stop answering calls that leave you empty. Stop rescuing people who wouldn't lift a finger to help you. You cannot keep setting yourself on fire to keep others warm. You've given from a dry well for too long. And yes, when you start saying no, some people will get angry. They'll call you selfish. They'll accuse you of changing. But remember, you're not wrong for protecting your peace. You're not cruel for expecting to be treated with the same kindness you give. The only ones who get upset when you set boundaries are the ones who benefited from you having none. Be cautious of those who only appear when they need. Be mindful of those whose love is transactional, because love should not be conditional. And family? True family loves you even when you have nothing to give. Now is the time to surround yourself with people who appreciate you, not just your efforts. People who check on you, not because they want something, but because they want you. You deserve love that doesn't manipulate. You deserve peace that doesn't require explanation. Let them go, the takers, the guilt trippers, the manipulators. You're not losing them, they're losing you. And just when you think you've set yourself free from the weight of manipulation, there's still one more shadow you need to confront: jealousy. The silent enemy that wears a smile but secretly hopes you fail. Let's step into that next. The truth hurts, but it also sets you free. We've already seen what happens when you start setting boundaries. Some people will walk away, others will show their true colors, and the ones who only stayed for the benefits, they'll leave behind silence that speaks volumes. But there's another truth, one that stings even deeper. Not everyone in your corner is actually cheering for you. Maybe it's time to ask yourself a hard question. Are you surrounded by givers or just takers? Because people who manipulate you aren't interested in your well-being. They're only concerned with what they can get from you. They'll act like they love you. They'll pretend to care. But the moment you stop pouring, the moment your hands close and your yes becomes a no, they reveal what they've been hiding all along. And strangely, that can be the most liberating moment of your life. Because now, you finally see who was really for you, and who was only there for what they could take. This is the season in your life where you must stop pouring into empty cups. Stop returning calls that leave your heart feeling drained. Stop rushing to save people who wouldn't even lift a finger to help you if roles were reversed. You cannot keep setting yourself on fire to keep others warm. You cannot continue giving from a place that is already empty. And here's the truth. When you start saying no, some people will get upset. When you stop letting yourself be used, they'll call you selfish. But listen closely. You are not selfish for protecting your peace. You are not wrong for refusing to be manipulated. You are not cruel for expecting the same kindness you so freely give. Because the only people who get offended when you create boundaries are the ones who benefited when you had none. Be cautious of those who only show up when they need something. Watch for those who only love you when you're useful to them. Love should never be conditional. And family? True family doesn't disappear when you stop producing. If someone cannot value you when you have nothing left to give, they never truly valued you at all. This is your time to shift your circle, to surround yourself with people who see your worth, not just your usefulness. People who check in because they genuinely care, not because they need a favor. People who make you feel appreciated, not obligated. You deserve that. You deserve peace. You deserve to enjoy the rest of your life without being exploited for your kindness. So let them go. Let the ones who only take walk away. Let the ones who manipulate through guilt find someone else to control. Let the ones who never truly loved you be removed. You're not losing them. They're losing you. And once they're gone, another truth becomes painfully clear. Not everyone will be happy for you. No matter how much you've been through, no matter how much you've prayed, no matter how hard you've worked, some people just can't be happy for you. Why? Because your blessings remind them of what they don't have. Your light shines on their shadows. Your joy exposes their bitterness. Your success feels like an insult to their insecurity. They'll smile with their mouths but frown with their spirit. They'll offer fake congratulations sprinkled with passive jabs. Must be nice. Or some people have all the luck. And on the surface it might seem harmless, but deep down you begin to feel it. The coldness, the indifference, the discomfort in their eyes when you shine. And then you realize they were never truly for you. They might have stood beside you when you were struggling. They might have shared your pain. But the moment you started to rise, their posture shifted. They stopped calling. They distanced themselves. Some even tried to undermine your confidence, to remind you of your past just when you were stepping into your promise. You know exactly who I'm talking about. You've shared good news, only to be met with silence. You've achieved something beautiful, only to receive blank stares or backhanded comments. It hurts deeply, because these are people you loved, people you celebrated. But listen, your blessings are not up for debate. You do not have to shrink to make others feel comfortable. You do not have to apologize for your growth. What God has given you is for you. No jealousy can steal it. No resentment can undo it. You don't need their approval to be blessed. Jealousy is a silent killer. It turns friends into enemies, family into strangers. It leads people to lie, to gossip, to sabotage, because they simply can't stand to see you walking in favor. And the sad part? They could be blessed too. They could be walking in peace and joy too. But instead of focusing on what God has for them, they're too busy hating what He's given you. So what do? You distance yourself. You stop expecting support from those who refuse to give it. You stop explaining yourself to people who only want to misunderstand you. You stop searching for validation from those secretly hoping you fail. Let them go. Because anyone who cannot clap for your wins was never truly standing with you. Don't let them guilt you into staying small. Don't let them convince you that your growth is betrayal. It's not. Growth only feels like betrayal to those who refuse to grow with you. It's not your job to stay in struggle so someone else doesn't feel left behind. If they loved you, they'd clap for you. They wouldn't question you. They wouldn't pull away every time favor falls on your life. Be careful of the ones who only liked you when you were low. The ones who stopped calling when you started rising. The ones who feel distant every time you receive something beautiful. That's not love, that's envy. And you don't need that poison in your life. Let them watch. Let them talk. Let them be uncomfortable. But don't, under any circumstance, let them stop you. You've worked too hard, prayed too long, fought too many battles, to let someone else's insecurity rob you of your joy. Keep moving forward. Keep walking in favor. Keep becoming who God called you to be. Because the right people, they'll celebrate with you. The wrong ones, they'll remove themselves. And just when you think you've overcome envy, there's one more force waiting to steal your peace: chaos. Let's talk about that next. Some people smile at you in public, but secretly hope you fail. We talked about envy, how it hides behind polite smiles and subtle silence, about how some people were never truly for you, just comfortable when you were struggling. But envy isn't the only poison hiding in your circle. There's another force just as draining: chaos. You've felt it. You've seen it. There are people in your life who carry a storm with them everywhere they go. Whenever they enter the room, so does the tension. Something's wrong. Someone's mad. There's drama, conflict, a problem to fix, a fire to put out. And guess who they call first? You. It doesn't matter how many times you show up. It doesn't matter how many solutions you give. They don't want change. They want chaos. You've been the one to answer those late-night calls. You've sent the money, given the ride, fixed the mess, offered the same advice over and over again. And yet, nothing changes. And here's the hard truth. Some people don't want to be healed. They just want attention. They don't want peace. They want pity. They don't want freedom. They want to be rescued again. Because their entire identity is tied to their struggle. They've built a home in their pain. Being the victim gives them power. It gives them control. And as long as you keep stepping in, they'll keep pulling you back. They don't want a way out. They want someone to join them in the mess. But hear this clearly. That's not your job. You were not created to be a firefighter for someone else's self-inflicted blaze. You were not born to carry someone else's irresponsibility. You are not called to fix people who don't want to change. Because while you're out there giving all your energy, constantly worrying about their life, your peace is quietly slipping away. You're losing sleep. You're sacrificing your emotional balance. You're drowning in stress that doesn't even belong to you. And the hardest part? They don't change. Because they never intended to. You can love them. You can pray for them. But you cannot carry them. You cannot force them to heal. You cannot choose peace for someone who thrives on conflict. That choice, they have to make it themselves. And until they do, the best thing you can do, the wisest, most loving thing is to step back. Protect your peace. Refuse to be pulled into the same cycle again. Let them wrestle with the consequences they've been avoiding. Let them learn the hard way if they must. And yes, when you pull away, they'll react. They'll accuse you of abandoning them. They'll say you've changed. They'll try to guilt you, remind you of all the times you were there, hoping you'll do it again. But don't fall for it. You are not wrong for protecting your spirit. You are not cruel for choosing calm over chaos. You are not heartless for finally saying enough. Some of you have spent years, decades even, sacrificing your mental, emotional, and even physical health for people who refuse to take responsibility for their own lives. You've allowed their storms to invade your peace. You've carried their burdens like they were your own. You've let their reckless choices drain your joy. But now, it's time. It's time to say no more. There comes a season when you must walk away from those who refuse to grow. There comes a moment when you must choose peace over patterns, wisdom over foolishness, freedom over dysfunction. Because peace is priceless. There is nothing in this world more sacred than waking up without stress sitting on your shoulders. Nothing more freeing than opening your eyes without someone else's chaos knocking at your door. You deserve that. You deserve mornings that begin in gratitude, not dread. You deserve to live unburdened, not responsible for fixing every fire someone else starts. And if that means saying no, say it. If it means creating space, create it. If it means letting go, let go. Because your peace matters. Your joy matters. Your life, your actual life, is too valuable to waste on people who refuse to take control of theirs. So let them go. Let them figure it out. Let them face the storms they created without dragging you into them. And you walk forward. You breathe again. You live with clarity, light, and freedom, just as you were meant to. But even once you've distanced yourself from chaos, there's still one more thing to guard against. Words spoken by those who tear down, not build up. Let's talk about that next. When you let go of the chaos, you start to hear the lies you've believed for too long. In the last part, we talked about people who live in storms of their own making. How their dysfunction can become your burden if you let it. And once you've finally stepped away from that chaos, something else becomes clear. The voices that shaped your silence. You see, not every storm comes from action. Some storms are planted through words, carelessly spoken, subtly repeated, and dangerously believed. There are people who speak, but their words don't build you, they break you. They plant seeds of doubt. They whisper failure in your ear. They make you question who you are, what you're worth, and whether you're even enough. These are the critics. The negative voices that have made it their mission to remind you of your flaws, your past, your insecurities. And if you listen long enough, their words take root. You start to believe that you are broken, that you are unworthy, that maybe you don't deserve the peace and joy you've fought so hard for. And here's what's worse. Some of you have been carrying those words for years. Maybe it was a parent who said you'd never amount to anything. Maybe it was a so-called friend who laughed at your dreams. Maybe it was a family member who every time you took a step forward pulled you 2 steps back with their criticism. And even now, long after the words were spoken, they linger. They echo in your thoughts when you're alone. They shadow your choices, your confidence, even your self-worth. They whisper, "You're not enough. You're not capable. You don't deserve this." But let me tell you something that can break that curse. The only words that define you are the ones God speaks over you. Not your critics, not your doubters, not your past. You are not a mistake. You are not a failure. You are not defined by what they said. You are loved. You are chosen. You are worthy. And most of all, you are redeemable, capable, and called. Some of you have allowed the wrong voices to stay too close for too long. You've let their doubts shape your confidence. You've let their criticism dictate your decisions. You've let their bitterness hold you back from the dreams God placed in your heart. And it's time. Time to cut those voices off. Time to stop giving space in your soul to people who only speak defeat. Time to realize not everyone deserves a front row seat to your life. You're losing sleep. You're sacrificing your emotional balance. You're drowning in stress that doesn't even belong to you. And the hardest part, they don't change because they never intended to. You can love them. You can pray for them. But you cannot carry them. You cannot force them to heal. You cannot choose peace for someone who thrives on conflict. That choice, they have to make it themselves. And until they do, the best thing you can do, the wisest, most loving thing, is to step back. Protect your peace. Refuse to be pulled into the same cycle again. Let them wrestle with the consequences they've been avoiding. Let them learn the hard way, if they must. And yes, when you pull away, they'll react. They'll accuse you of abandoning them. They'll say you've changed. They'll try to guilt you, remind you of all the times you were there, hoping you'll do it again. But don't fall for it. You are not wrong for protecting your spirit. You are not cruel for choosing calm over chaos. You are not heartless for finally saying enough. Some of you have spent years, decades even, sacrificing your mental, emotional, and even physical health for people who refuse to take responsibility for their own lives. You've allowed their storms to invade your peace. You've carried their burdens like they were your own. You've let their reckless choices drain your joy. But now it's time. It's time to say no more. There comes a season when you must walk away from those who refuse to grow. There comes a moment when you must choose peace over patterns, wisdom over foolishness, freedom over dysfunction, because peace is priceless. There is nothing in this world more sacred than waking up without stress sitting on your shoulders. Nothing more freeing than opening your eyes without someone else's chaos knocking at your door. You deserve that. You deserve mornings that begin in gratitude, yet not dread. You deserve to live unburdened, not responsible for fixing every fire someone else starts. And if that means saying no, say it. If it means creating space, create it. If it means letting go, let go, because your peace matters. Your joy matters. Your life, your actual life, is too valuable to waste on people who refuse to take control of theirs. So let them go. Let them figure it out. Let them face the storms they created without dragging you into them. And you walk forward. You breathe again. You live with clarity, light, and freedom, just as you were meant to. But even once you've distanced yourself from chaos, there's still one more thing to guard against. Words spoken by those who tear down, not build up. Let's talk about that next. When you let go of the chaos, you start to hear the lies you've believed for too long. In the last part, we talked about people who live in storms of their own making, how their dysfunction can become your burden if you let it. And once you've finally stepped away from that chaos, something else becomes clear: the voices that shaped your silence. You see, not every storm comes from action. Some storms are planted through words, carelessly spoken, subtly repeated, and dangerously believed. There are people who speak, but their words don't build you. They break you. They plant seeds of doubt. They whisper failure in your ear. They make you question who you are, what you're worth, and whether you're even enough. These are the critics, the negative voices that have made it their mission to remind you of your flaws, your past, your insecurities. And if you listen long enough, their words take root. You start to believe that you are broken, that you are unworthy, that maybe you don't deserve the peace and joy you've fought so hard for. And here's what's worse. Some of you have been carrying those words for years. Maybe it was a parent who said you'd never amount to anything. Maybe it was a so-called friend who laughed at your dreams. Maybe it was a family member who, every time you took a step forward, pulled you 2 steps back with their criticism. And even now, long after the words were spoken, they linger. They echo in your thoughts when you're alone. They shadow your choices, your confidence, even your self-worth. They whisper, "You're not enough, you're not capable, you don't deserve this." But let me tell you something that can break that curse. The only words that define you are the ones God speaks over you. Not your critics, not your doubters, not your past. You are not a mistake, you are not a failure, you are not defined by what they said. You are loved, you are chosen, you are worthy. And most of all, you are redeemable, capable, and called. Some of you have allowed the wrong voices to stay too close for too long. You've let their doubt shape your confidence. You've let their criticism dictate your decisions. You've let their bitterness hold you back from the dreams God placed in your heart. And it's time. Time to cut those voices off. Time to stop giving space in your soul to people who only speak defeat. Time to realize not everyone deserves a front row seat to your life. If someone's words do nothing but drain you, discourage you, and make you feel like less than who God created you to be, they don't belong in your circle. Because here's what happens when you listen to the wrong voices. You start living in fear. You start shrinking yourself. You begin second-guessing every bold move, every prayer, every act of courage. Because someone once told you, that's not for you. How many dreams have died? Not because you weren't capable, but because someone whispered, you're not good enough. How many blessings have been missed because someone said, you don't deserve that? How many callings have been ignored because someone's jealousy became your soundtrack? You cannot afford to give power to words that were never meant to build you. You cannot allow voices of defeat to shape a future full of promise. You must surround yourself with people who speak life, people who see your strength when you're doubting it, people who remind you that you're called, chosen, and strong, even on your weakest day. People who encourage you to dream again, try again, get up again. And no, cutting off those voices doesn't make you bitter. It doesn't make you hard. It doesn't mean you're holding a grudge. It means you're choosing healing over hurt, freedom over fear, and truth over lies. Because if the wrong words have the power to break you, then the right ones, spoken in faith and love, have the power to build you back. And that's where we'll go next. Let's talk about the power of the right voices and why they matter more than ever in this season of your life. You are not their labels. You are who God says you are. And if that means walking away, walk boldly. If that means setting boundaries, stand firm. If that means distancing yourself from people who refuse to speak life, then let that distance grow. Your spirit is too valuable to be poisoned by negativity. Your purpose is too divine to be delayed by small minds. Your life is too important to be shaped by words that were never born of truth. You have a life to live, a mission to fulfill, a destiny to walk in. Don't let their words become your walls. Turn down their volume. Turn your heart toward the voice of truth. Because when you do, you'll discover freedom, clarity, and the boldness to walk in everything God has prepared for you. And now that you've cleared the noise, what do you fill that space with? Let's talk about that next. How to cultivate the voices that build you and why it changes everything. The right voice changes everything, and sometimes it has to be yours. After clearing away the chaos and shutting out the voices that tried to define your worth, something sacred begins to happen. You start to hear truth. Not the noise of the crowd, not the criticism of the past, but the quiet, unwavering truth of who you are. You see, it's not just actions that wound, it's words, especially the ones spoken over you in your most vulnerable moments. If you listen to those voices long enough, they begin to shape the way you see yourself. You start to believe you're too flawed, too broken, too far gone. You begin to question whether you are even worthy of the peace, love, and purpose God is calling you into. And many of those words didn't come from strangers. Maybe it was a parent who said you'd never be enough, a teacher who laughed at your dream, a sibling who couldn't stop criticizing, a friend who used doubt as sarcasm and never apologized. Their voices planted seeds of fear, insecurity, and shame, and those seeds grew. Even now, years later, those words still echo. They follow you into opportunities. They whisper when you look in the mirror. They speak louder in silence when no one else is around. But today I want you to know this. Those voices don't define you. They never did. They never had the right to. The only voice that has the authority to define you is God's. And His voice says, you are not a failure. You are not forgotten. You are not the sum of someone else's opinion. You are redeemed. You are purposed. You are enough. You are not obligated to keep entertaining words that drain you. You don't have to keep people close just because they've been around a long time. Not everyone deserves front row seats to your life. Not everyone is qualified to speak into your identity. And if their words only leave you discouraged, doubtful, and diminished, it's time to cut them off. Because the more you listen to the wrong voices, the more you hesitate, the more you shrink, the more you pull back from the very calling God gave you. How many dreams have you delayed because someone told you it was impossible? How many callings have you ignored because someone labeled you unworthy? How many times have you second-guessed your boldness because someone couldn't handle your light? You cannot keep giving weight to voices that were never meant to shape your future. You must surround yourself with those who speak life. People who remind you that you are strong even when you feel weak. People who speak faith when fear comes knocking. People who see the gift in you even when it's still wrapped in process. And cutting off the wrong voices. It doesn't make you vengeful. It doesn't mean you're bitter. It simply means you've matured enough to value your peace. You're not holding a grudge. You're holding your boundaries. You're not walking in anger. You're walking in truth. Some of you are still repeating words that were never meant for you. Still replaying insults that were born out of someone else's insecurity. Still adjusting your light to make others comfortable in their shadow. But listen to me now. You are not their opinions. You are not their bitterness. You are not the names they called you. You are what God calls you. Loved, chosen, enough. And if that means walking away, walk boldly. If that means setting boundaries, draw them clearly. If it means creating space from people who only speak defeat, then do it without guilt. Because your spirit is too precious to be poisoned. Your purpose is too great to be diminished. Your calling is too divine to be dictated by small minds. You have a life to live, a mission to complete, a destiny to fulfill. Don't let their words be the wall between you and what God has for you. Let them go. Let their voices fade. And instead tune your ears to the voice of truth. Because when you do, you'll find your strength. You'll walk with clarity. You'll move forward in freedom. And you'll live the life you were always meant to live, free, whole, and unshaken. Now the only question left is, will you believe what God says about you or stay bound by what they said?